Okay, so how did I come to HeartMath? Well, I guess for me, the first 38 years of my life was very much a head-centered life that I lived. I didn't know about the heart at all. And I think it was about, yeah, I was around about 38, 39 years old. And I came out of a 11-year relationship with somebody. And I fell into a 2-year depression because of that story. And I struggled with trying to come to terms with the ending of the relationship. And I had all of these tools available to me. So I've got a background in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, psychoneuroimmunology, PNI, hypnotherapy. And I also have a bunch of friends in this field as well. So I had all the resources available to me. And yet everything I tried to resolve how I felt didn't change a thing. Because you can't really change the way you feel at the level of thinking. You have to change it at the level of feeling. So this resulted in a 2-year depression. And I know it was 2 years because what happened was that I was living in Cape Town at the time, a place called Surface Corner, on the 10th story floor of a 14-story building. And it was the beginning of this, I think it was the beginning of February, around about there. It was a Monday. My ex let me know that she was back in town and that she had her new Italian boyfriend with her. And then I also found out that she was staying around the corner from where I was. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And I actually became too afraid to even leave the building. And this whole spiral began. And by the Wednesday, I was feeling quite low on energy and feeling quite sorry for myself. And I remember getting an email from a guy called Andy Pelland, who at the time I didn't know him, but I was on HeartMath's database because I had bought some of their biofeedback technology years ago, and we'll probably get into the technology part later as well. But I was on their database, and Andy had just arrived in Cape Town, and he had the database with him, and he was like, does anybody want to chat about HeartMath? And I replied, kind of half-heartedly, no pun intended, on the Wednesday, going, yeah, okay, I'll chat to you. By the Friday, my mood had worsened so much that I was on the edge. I was contemplating taking my life. So I was on the way to the window and to jump, and I got a phone call, and I just reached over for the phone automatically and picked it up, and it was Andy, and he was like, I just read your email, would you like to meet up and chat about HeartMath? And some part of me just said, yeah, sure, why not? And we agreed to meet, and for some reason I decided to put that off, that inevitable thing that I was going to do. And we met up, and I remember meeting up with him, and he's saying to me, well, are you using the technology? Are you using the techniques? Are you practicing HeartMath? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And the reason being because I originally bought the PC software for the technology. I converted to Mac. And for me to carry on with using the software, I had to now repurchase the Mac software. This was back in the Stone Ages, if you will. And I said to him, you guys want more money for the software and I'm not going to buy it. And he said, like, dude, you obviously need it. And there was something else that he also mentioned to me. He said to me, I feel like you're on the edge of something. And oh, that's interesting. If only you knew where I was when you called me. Mm. And he said, if you had leaned into the edge, I wonder what would happen. And I became quite curious. And then he said, if you come to one of my talks, I will gladly give you the software. And then you can reconnect again. You can start practicing the techniques. And let's see how it goes from there. So I thought, ooh, okay, something free, something is finally going my way. And I was in a very weird space at that time, right? So I was like, oh yeah, let's do that. And I went to his talk the next day, and I showed up early in the morning for his first talk. And Andy, being the charismatic man that he was, I was hooked. He was speaking about all this beautiful heart-centered stuff. And I was like, where's this been all my life? And then later on in the day, which I stayed for all of these presentations, he had about 4 in a row, right? And he had people coming in the whole time. And later on in the day, I met a doctor who was working with cancer and HIV patients using HeartMath. And so the doctor was saying that you know, the medical science point of view, and Andy was giving his spiritual side. And between the two of them, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing stuff, right? And I went to the doctor afterwards and I said to him, I want to come see you for two reasons. Number one is I want to see, how do you use this thing called HeartMath in your practice? I have no idea. And number two, I think I've got a problem. Yeah, so I kind of owned up to that. And I went to see him for about 3 sessions where we used the technology that says biofeedback, a little sensor in your ear. You can see the heart rhythm patterns on the screen. And because you can see it on the screen, you can learn to change it. And that's what I did in those 3 sessions with this doctor. And I then installed the Mac software. I committed some time to it. I was practicing these techniques for 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, every single day. I was like, I'm gonna do this. 2 weeks later, I find myself 500 kilometers away from Cape Town in a small little coastal village, and I bump into my ex by accident. Accident, right? Synchronicity. Not only do I bump into her, but with her boyfriend.
Right.
And that was the time that I knew that something had changed in me, because I literally had seconds in which to change the way I felt inside as I bumped into them, right? That kind of shock. But I was able to manage myself, and we went for coffee and it was all fine. And when I waved them goodbyes, they rode up into the distance like one of those Western movies, you know. I was like, oh, I feel different. The emptiness, the pain, whatever it was that I felt inside was changed, and I was okay with it. And it was only a couple of months later that I realized that the depression I had wasn't because of the relationship that had ended, but it was because I was unable to give myself what I needed when the relationship ended. And that was a real journey to the heart for me, which literally took 2 weeks to get over that. But it hasn't stopped there, you know. So since then, I've been committing the rest of my life really to teaching others how to do this. Yeah,
wow.
so